Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. What are y'all doing here? Oh, radio show. Welcome to the Doc Owen Show. All right. We have a full house at the Hilltop tonight. I am joined by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
And this is Doc Owen. We're really glad you joined us. We got a good show. Lots of... good information to purvey. I think you will enjoy it. Just as a matter of record, we are all over the social media as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. We are particularly interested in growing our Twitter following. I am on a hard charge to get to 5,000. I'm down in double digits, 4,902. So if you'll recall, the 5,000th follower gets a huge prize. So, don't hold. I know that some of you are holding back, waiting to be number 5,000, but as luck would have it, it's probably going to happen in the middle of the night. So, go ahead and jump out there and be somebody and follow the Doc Owen Show and retweet us. That's the best way to find out about the activity. We also have a blog that is growing in the number of posts. If we can keep Uncle Bocce out of the garden long enough, the blog gets some new activity. So he's got a Liberty garden that he's really, really proud of. And well, he should be. Works hard on it and puts out some good stuff. It can be found, Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW.com. And by far the best way to connect is through our free apps for both iPhone and Android. You can go to your particular store, search for Doc Owen Show, download the app, and you can not only listen to us live at your leisure as a podcast, you can also have access to the entire catalog of all the shows we've done over the past 3.5 years on this particular format. That gets us about halfway through the normal start for our show, a very traditional start. The next thing up on the venue is an inspirational quote from yours truly, I'm a surefire, followed by Uncle Bocce with a moment in history, and then I'll add a little note or two about leadership. Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from InsideOfTheDay.com. And it's from a lady that I think most of us remember. Her name was Ann Landers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The advice columnist.
Yeah, I wrote to her a lot.
Yes, she was a good lady.
Not.
So, okay, maybe not. All right. Well, she did have a little bit of advice to share with that, website. She said, nobody gets to live life backward. Look ahead. That is where your future lies.
I like it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's cool.
Until time travel.
What was that? Back to the Future?
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. You can buy that at...
Netflix?
No, at... what's the name of the...
Hulu?
Auto House. No, the auto... Mac... Not McCoy's. What's the name of the auto parts store?
AutoZone.
Oh, no. Gosh, get risky. It starts with a Mac. Anyway, there's an auto parts store where you can literally put in a particular part number. It was out there on Facebook. My niece put it out.
That's right.
One of my nieces put it out there. And if you type in this particular item number,
that's right.
They show, currently out of stock, the Back to the Future retro thing, the part that you put on the DeLorean.
That's right.
So it's hilarious.
She probably thought of this then way before that car came out.
Yeah. Uncle Bocce, what happened?
Well, we got three
back
things.
in the day.
We got three things. Yes, real quick. In 1775, King George endorsed the New England Restraining Act, which basically was a restriction on the New England colonies doing trade with anyone else but Great Britain.
Well, of course he endorsed it.
Okay? And then they added on that they were not allowed to fish in the North Atlantic. Imagine that. Seriously. 20 days later, they added that to the act. Mm-hmm. You had no fishing in the North Atlantic.
Some things never change.
I tell you. Then in 1870, the 15th Amendment was adopted. That was the amendment that gave Negro men the right to vote. Okay? And in 1981, President Reagan was shot on this day. Thank God he survived.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that.
Yep. Scary day. I mean, it brought back some really bad memories after it was fresh on our minds after JFK. I have one leadership quote that is very, very long, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's from our friends at Crown of Grace International, and it was written by a gentleman by the name of, I say a gentleman, I don't know. It's J.D. Meyer. So when they use initials like that, it could go either way.
That's true.
Your decisions should be action-oriented. In other words, if you can't act on your decisions, then it's a waste of time. You should also be able to respond to feedback once you implement your decision. What goes good on paper or sounds good may not work when you actually test it. I'm thinking we should give these to all members of Congress.
There
I
you
think
go.
so.
That's
That
the
and
way.
a few other things.
As if they would listen. And then he's got 5 elements: the problem rationalization, the boundary conditions, the right thing to do, the action, and then feedback loop. So the main thing I think that he's trying to point out is, as someone else has said or I've heard, if your thought process does not about something new and different and it does not lead to action, it's called daydreaming.
Daydreaming. We all do it.
It is doing nothing. We have a very entertaining guest tonight. We have a lady by the name of Dr. Kelly Flieger, and she is the principal for a new high school here in San Antonio that is basically a joint venture between the San Antonio Independent School District, H-E-B grocery stores, which are huge. They basically own the state of Texas, and a group called, I can't think of their name right now, Tech Block, which is a not-for-profit organization set up by the founder of a very large tech outfit called Rackspace. That's a cloud computing company. But current Mayor Ivy Taylor brought these 3 entities together to make up this school that Dr. Flieger is going to tell us about. But before we get into that, and then after that, we're going to discuss some politics. There were a couple of things. It was basically going to be, we were only going to have about a 45-minute show tonight because there was nothing in the world of politics to talk about. But luckily, right before we went on the air, I got several emails that are worth consideration for a discussion. I mean, we don't have to. You can say, no, I pass. Okay. And the other thing I'll tell you, as we come out of the interview, which Uncle Bocce's going to do his historical brief first, then we're going to do the interview after that. That last 10 or 15 minutes of the show, the phone lines will be open. So make a note of this number. It's 210-843-8859. If you got something on your mind, we would love to hear from you. 210-843-8859. And I'm showing me the phone that is not plugged in, but it will be by the time the interview is over. Uncle Bocce?
Yes, sir.
Take it away.
Thank you. Okay, we are going through the pre-revolutionary history from the years 1763 up into 1776 when we declared our independence.
I graduated from high school in 63.
There you go. So did I.
Cool.
Different century.
Oh, yeah. Couple of them.
Okay, so right now we're looking after a century and a half of the colonies and the people in the colonies were experiencing what we call self-rule.
Okay. Yep.
Which is a very important tenet of,
Right.
of our political life. So Britain really didn't do much. They didn't direct any influence over the colonial life just once in a while, but pretty much they stayed out of it. So we got the experience of self-rule. And last week we talked about the restricting the westward movement of the colonies with the proclamation line. So what was happening now is Britain decided, well, we're going to enforce our trade laws as well, and we'll get into that. One of the things that they did, I call it putting on the writs. They were writs of assistance, were general search warrants. And this gave the British customs inspectors the right to search colonial ships. And there was a reason why they wanted to do that. Like I said, they didn't want them to be trading with anyone else. So they had this ability before now, but they just never even bothered. The violators did not receive the benefit of a trial jury if they did find someone. And they had to go before the British Admiralty courts. It's kind of like our immigration laws. Up until now they haven't been enforced. Now all of a sudden we're going to enforce them. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Worst of all, the British now began, levying taxes against American colonists. Okay. Under the Stamp Act, which was one of the first ones, all pieces of paper, such as legal documents, newspapers, and even playing cards, had a tax levied on them.
And they had to. What was this?
Wow.
They had to be mailed.
They had to buy. They literally had to buy specific paper, which was stamped, depending upon what it was
Oh,
for.
I thought you were saying they had to mail them. They had to put them in the mail.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they
Not that kind of stamp.
Right.
Okay.
So they were being forced to use these stamps, and they cost money. Of course, Britain was making money off it. So there's 2 points of view on this. The British point of view is not really difficult to grasp. They had just finished the 7 years.
I'll be the judge of that. Please.
Okay. They had They had just finished the 7 Years' War, and it was very costly to them. The taxes asked of the American colonists were lower than those asked of mainland English citizens.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Right? The revenue raised from taxing the colonies was used to pay for their own defense. Got
Was
that?
used to pay for the colonies.
For the
defense,
colonies' own defense.
which the British said they were providing.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm with you so far.
Moreover, the funds received from American colonists barely covered 1/3 of the cost of maintaining British troops in the 13 colonies. Okay, sure. However, the Americans viewed this
I smell a nature
from
problem.
a different perspective, okay, or different lens, if you want to call it that. What was the purpose of maintaining British garrisons in the colonies now that the French threat was gone?
So they could collect
So-
the taxes.
Well, yeah, exactly. The point is made. There you go.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
So-
jump ahead of you.
Americans wondered about contributing to the maintenance of troops they felt were there only for one reason: to watch them.
Collect the
To
taxes.
watch them.
Yeah.
And to collect them, to watch them.
Well,
okay?
but yeah.
Okay? Now, those in England, true, they did pay more taxes, but Americans paid much more in sweat.
Okay.
All the land
And
that
lost-
was
and-
cleared,
And loss of freedom and liberty.
right,
Okay.
all the land that was cleared by the colonists, which made the land productive, the Indians who were fought by the colonials, and relatives who died building a colony that enhanced the British Empire, made further taxation even insulting to them.
Sure it did.
So those are the two perspectives.
Okay.
Okay, now, James Otis. James Otis was a guy from Massachusetts. He was a lawyer and he was a patriot. But he said the colonists, black and white, born here are freeborn British subjects and entitled to all the essential civil rights of such. That is a truth manifest from the provincial charters, from the principles of common law. Okay? Which was reestablished, or the British Constitution, which was reestablished during this time of the prior to the Revolution. So, his idea was that we should have all the rights that the Brits have. Okay. Now, in addition to emotional appeals, the colonists began to make a political argument.
Okay.
Their argument from a political standpoint was the tradition of receiving permission for levying taxes dated back hundreds of years in British history. Okay? This directly relates to our Constitution later on. Okay, so where did this idea of levying taxes come from? But the colonists, they had no representation in the British Parliament.
Right.
Okay? So to tax them without offering representation was to deny their traditional rights as English subjects. Not even as Americans, but as English subjects.
This is beginning to ring a bell.
Yeah, exactly.
No pun intended.
Okay, so
like the Liberty Bell.
There you go.
Go ahead.
This just could not stand. The colonists, they were off on their own. They were pretty self-reliant. Now, Parliament in 1765 passed what is called the Stamp Act. Things changed after that.
Oh, sure.
It was the first direct tax on the American colonies. We will revisit that idea of direct taxes later on, especially if we do go on to study the Constitution.
Okay.
It's very important to remember that, a direct tax. Every legal document had to be written on the specially stamped paper, like I said before.
Right.
Deeds, wills, marriage licenses, contracts of any sort.
Right.
Newspapers, dice, everything had to pay this tax. So American activists sprang into action. They didn't like this. They called a special Congress, which met in 1765. I believe it was in Massachusetts. The members of Congress, they sincerely devoted with the warmest, sentiments and affections of them. They created a document that pretty much listed the grievances they had.
Right.
Okay, and there was 13 of them. I don't have time to go through all. Well, there's actually 14 of them.
Of course, there's 14. Never do 13 anything.
Yes, exactly. They had things in there like talking about being naturally born British citizen,
right?
No taxes being imposed on them, but with their own consent. Another important issue. Another one was trial by jury, which we did not have. Let's see, extending the jurisdiction of the courts of admiralty beyond its ancient limits. So they were using these courts to do more than what. Does it ring a bell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ding-a-ling.
See how history applies to today?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. And that the increase, the prosperity, and the happiness of these colonies depended on full and free enjoyment of their rights and liberties. Again, we're building towards something. And that brings us now to the next topic, which will be the, let's see, this is the Stamp Act, so the next one is going to be the Boston Massacre. And we're gonna look into that next week and see what happened there. All these things infuriating the colonists against what the Brits were trying to do to them.
Okay, but it also sounds like, in which I know you will correct me if I'm wrong. So far, the pushback against the Brits has been quite civil.
Yes, it has.
In other words, it has been, they came, they had a vote, they said they were representing the people, they made their case. In other words, they were doing things according to the law. They might have questioned the British law, all of that, but nonetheless, they were trying to do it in a very civil manner.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting fairly close. And you used the word the Boston Massacre. I don't want you to divulge the information. Anybody can Google it if they want to be smarter than you next week.
Absolutely.
But that's going to be hard for them. So I get a feeling we're getting closer and closer.
We are.
To enough is enough.
Exactly. This is 1765.
Okay.
And
all right.
Guys, you can reach me. And if you have any questions about the Boston Massacre that you'd like to send to me, you can send them to me before next week's show.
There you go.
At Uncle Bocci, UNCLEBACI, at DocOwenShow.com.
There you go.
Love to hear from you.
Yeah. Keep him on his toes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Uncle Bocci.
Good job. Well done, lad. Okay, let's. We said right after this we were going to dive into a conversation that I had with Dr. Kelly Flieger, and I think we'll go ahead and do what I said we were going to do. I had up on the board that I was going to talk about something that happened to us yesterday evening, but I'll wait until the interview is over. So, Ms. Surefire, if you will kick off the interview with Dr. Flieger, and I hope everybody enjoys it. Issue formally. I am about to have a conversation with a young lady by the name of Dr. Kelly Flieger. She is I think the communications director. She can correct me when she joins us here in just a second, of a new thing in San Antonio called CAST, C-A-S-T. I'm not going to tell you what the acronym stands for. I'll let her do that. It is really, really, really cool, particularly for young people. I don't know that it's the first in the nation, but it's a major step forward for San Antonio and Bexar County and surrounding territories. So, Dr. Flieger, glad you could join us. How are you?
Well, thank you, Doc. I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm doing really well.
So tell the audience what CAST in this context is an acronym for.
Okay, I'm happy to. I am the principal of Tech High School.
Oh, the
CAST
principal.
Stands for, yes, I'm the principal.
I got sent to the principal's office straight away.
Yeah, you went straight to the top. The CAST stands for the Centers for Applied Science and Technology. We're going to be San Antonio's first high-tech high school, and we are the first of 7 career-themed high schools to roll into San Antonio that are being sponsored by business and industry.
That's the key. That, to me,
Exactly.
is the key. It is a joint venture between education and business. And I understand was put together and kind of promoted by a local not-for-profit. The Tech Block, is that correct?
Yes, Tech Block in conjunction with HEB and Charles Budd.
Yep.
We're both separately pursuing high schools and
okay.
For different purposes. And so the mayor found out about their interest, both of their interests, and said, hey, why don't you two work together?
Our current mayor,
create
Ivy Taylor?
a unified high school experience. And so that was how we began.
Our current mayor did that, Ivy Taylor?
Yes, Ivy did that.
Outstanding. Good on her.
Yes.
So, and I understand most people are going to think like I did when tech is in the name that it's, all about IT. But it's not, because when I was reading some of the information that I've been able to find, you're going into the technology, the high tech of manufacturing. In other words, you're broadening the horizons of the terminology technology.
We really are, because people hear IT and it means so many different things to them. But we really want students to explore the ideas of being entrepreneurs with IT and to learn about business. So think of us as a dual-strand school with business and information technology and how those merge together. And for our partners, really what they would love to see is that smart young creatives come into San Antonio, and those who go to school and grow up here in downtown really want to stay because there's so many social and educational opportunities. So there's so many facets to this partnership and the benefits for it for the community and obviously for students and parents. So that really is, I think, the driving force is to build a career field pathway and to increase the number of people in these career fields here in San Antonio.
Well, you've certainly, and I'm sure it's well deserved, attracted the attention of the foremost players in San Antonio to really get it kicked off and get it done in the right way and to get the publicity around it, et cetera. So I understand that the first phase of students, did I read correctly that it was kind of be done on a lottery type basis?
Yes, in fact, we pulled the lottery yesterday. We had 258 students who applied for 150 spots within our school.
Wow.
And a significant portion, I would say, we had about 91 of those applicants from out of district. So if you think of it 75 in terms of spots and allocations, then we met our targets and exceeded those in both groups of in-district and those coming from outside of the district.
Isn't that great?
It's fantastic. It's a wonderful and sad problem to have at the same time.
Yes, ma'am.
You hate to disappoint students, right?
Well, I think you better get used to it. Because I think the demand is going to not far outreach, but unfortunately, as you said, the demand is most likely to outreach the ability to supply, not just from a physical plant capability, but you also have to attract the resources. You got to attract the right teachers. You got to attract all the things that go with it.
Right.
And that's going to be, I'm sure, part of the challenge that you're perfectly capable of dealing with.
Well, thank you.
What's your PhD in?
Educational administration.
Well, on target. Doing what you love to do.
I do. This is my second school to create.
Okay. Oh, and wow.
The first one had a technology and design focus, and that was in the Northeast School District. And so this one really gets to marry all of the things that I've done career-wise. And I did, after I created the school in Northeast, I also did teacher education and teacher training and certification. So this school also serves as a laboratory school for University of Texas San Antonio. So we will be training teachers and administrators in our facility. So the parts that I've done career-wise, and I created an internship program in another school. It really I get to do all of my passions and all of the things I love to do in this particular environment. And the partnerships with business and industry are just absolutely fantastic. I can pick up the phone and call any of them and get help with a variety of things. So it's just a perfect opportunity to get to create.
Well, how did San Antonio are you from here? How did San Antonio get so lucky?
Well, I'm actually from Southeast Texas, a little town called Buna, between Beaumont and Jasper.
I know right where it is.
Texas, Louisiana line. And I was actually in graduate school at A&M, and I came out here to pursue a research-funded project at the International School of the Americas and got to know those people. And so I came out to San Antonio in '96. So I've been here going on 21 years, so I don't know if that makes me native, but it sure makes me a very much a long-time resident.
Native Texan makes you native San Antonio.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're welcomed in, and it's nice to talk to a fellow Aggie.
Yes.
College Station that's where I grew up, was in College Station. That's why I know your hometown, because we played you way back in the day in multiple basketball tournaments.
Wow.
We were about, College Station was a 2A school, and I think Buna was either a 1A or a 2A, but we wound up.
Yeah, we were about 3A, but I think it went down in size. Yeah, Buna used to be a basketball powerhouse.
They
so,
really
yeah.
did. They were to be feared.
Yes.
You guys put together a heck of a team back in the 60s, early 60s is where
That's
I'm
right,
going.
we did. We did.
That's very interesting. Well, I'm really excited. I want to I want to carry on the conversation, but before I do that, I want to make sure that we absolutely stay in touch. One of the things that I do on the side, if you will, is I'm a professor. I teach a master's in cybersecurity. And
do you really? How
yes,
interesting.
Well, that was what really flagged me when I saw the original post on what you were doing with CAST was, boy, they're coming to town. So I teach at the University of Maryland, so I teach an online course, and this semester or last semester, I think it actually started, they involved me in creating the curriculum. And so I've gotten a real good taste of familiarity with how challenging that can be. And I know you know it from your work experience, but this was my first time, and I'm a businessman. I mean, I grew up as a businessman. I didn't get my PhD until I was 63 years old because I wanted to teach, and I needed the handle in order to get in the game.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Well, you got 100 and what grades are you? I mean, where does it start? Where did it start in the ninth grade or the 10th grade?
We're going to start with ninth grade.
Atta girl.
Yeah, we're going to start with ninth grade and then grow a grade level each year. So in 4 years, we would tap out at about
600, 800
students. Yes.
Good.
And so we
that's a nice size school.
we have a dual purpose. As I said, we want to educate these 600 kids and really grow these career fields, but also our other part, as I mentioned, is to have this university relationship where we're also growing teachers and administrators and offering professional development through our school. And the things that really set us apart and make us unique from any other high school is that we want to focus on project-based learning, which is where students pursue an idea over time, and there's an end product that they work toward. They work through the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills and Standards through that project, but everything they need to learn is real time and very relevant.
Yes,
the other thing that makes us unique is we want to have a personalized learning environment, and we're going to get to that through our technology platform that allows us to really see kids and how they're performing, and then offer them tools and supports through that digital platform to push them. So imagine sitting back in a classroom when you were in high school, you would see a teacher trying to teach like to the middle of the class and hoping those that are struggling get it, and those who are maybe get ahead, they're not as engaged. So because I can deliver unique content through that platform and meet kids where they are, we can hit all levels within one classroom. And then the third way that we're different is we really want it to be industry and work-based focus. So since we are literally 12 minutes to the technology corridor here in San Antonio, we want students to do job shadowing and be mentored and do internships and to really understand what it's like to be in a career before they go to college, before they invest all the time and the money to really have a good basis for understanding of what that's like. So those are really our tasks to roll out for next year.
You are going to be so successful.
Thank you.
I've got goosebumps. I mean, because mostly because of your tone of voice. I can tell that you not only you've completely internalized what you just told me about the 3 hot points, and so you know how to do this. I mean, you visualize this thing all the way through to, as you put it, very successful graduates. Your confidence level is It just bleeds through, which is fabulous.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
It's
I get
just
lots
fabulous.
of opportunities to talk about this school, and so hopefully that what I say has been very refined. And in fact, this past week was really.
They took the Aggie accent out of you? Is that what you're telling me?
They did. Well, actually, the Southeast Texan is even worse than the Aggie. Let me tell you.
I'll bet. Oh, I did. You don't have to tell me anything, ma'am.
This past week was a really unique opportunity. Tech Block has sponsored multiple events for its members who are into the thousands. But this past week, they pulled together all the tech CEOs for the first time and had a breakfast. And they invited me to address the group. And so really the focus was for them to learn about CAST and how to plug in. And financially, because of Graham Weston's matching 80/20 Foundation grant, then they're really still trying to fundraise for our renovations. And so to get to stand in front of this group that had never met before and to know that they're there to support this school was really tremendous. And they asked some really great questions and are very interested. And like I said, we have great business and industry partners who are already plugged in, but to get to see and meet all of these other individuals who stand to benefit from our students and our program was really amazing.
San Antonio is known for two things: military and hospitality. And so you feel the hospitality in the meeting like you're in. In other words, this is a very unique town in a lot of ways in America, in that we still have a tendency to believe in possibilities and to see possibilities and be willing to invest time and energy and money in those possibilities. So I can imagine that you had a warm reception.
We did, and Mayor Taylor joined us at the event to really lend her support to the technology community and to this school. So again, very important. Oh,
totally important. Unfortunately, I run out of time, but I want to do this again, and I want to do it soon.
Well, let me know. Are we still airing or no?
Well, go ahead and talk, because I can slice off anything I want to slice off.
Okay.
There's no change to how we converse.
What I would like to be sure that we let our listeners know is that there are so many levels of ways to engage in this school.
Good.
And what we are looking for are people who want to come in and be mentors for our students who are in these career fields. And so through the SA Tech Block website, there is a Friends of CAST page where people can go in and sign up for different roles within our school. And mentorship is really, really important. And we want our mentors to be a valuable part of our curriculum and our students' experience. So I would encourage people to look at that site and to figure out ways that they can support this really dynamic ecosystem that we have going here in downtown.
What is when you said what's the exact web address? Without you don't need to give me the www. Well, that's okay. Our listeners are totally smart enough to Google anything.
Yeah, I just had it up. It is satechblock.com. SATECHBLOC.
Yeah, I was going to say the tech block can throw them off a little bit. It's BLOC.
Yeah,
right.
It's without the case. satechblock.com.
Ignore your grammar training and spelling.
Yes, exactly.
And go into true tech mode.
Right.
I'm surprised it's not TEK.
True.
Just to throw them off. I can assure you that we will sign up. The Doc Owen Show will totally sign up to get involved and mentor or do whatever we can. So you can look for myself and the producer's signature out there.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you, Doc. It's been just wonderful visiting with you.
Kelly,
and I appreciate your energy and your support and encouragement. It means a lot.
You're doing great things. I look forward to meeting you soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I truly am convinced that what they're doing is very unique.
Sure is.
In terms of a public school system working with industry and working with a big not-for-profit in technology and placing themselves right in the heart of all of those, like startup companies, which happens to be in downtown San Antonio, which is really pretty cool. Hopefully it's going on in your neighborhood. And if it's not, you might want to look into CAST, look into what Dr. Flieger was talking about, and see if you can get something started in your area, because it's very, very important to provide a good future. It's up to us. No matter what the millennials might think, it is not up to the federal government. It is up to us.
Yes.
So we said we were going to talk a bit of politics, and luckily some stuff came across the wire. Here's one that literally just came across. I think everybody knows who Rob Schneider is, the comedian. Mm-hmm. He's best known for Deuce Bigalow and Male Gigolo, The Water Boy, Down Periscope, and I'm sure he has a stand-up routine, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Well, he's a Hollywood type person. I mean, I think he probably lives out on the left coast.
Yeah.
So
you forgot All in the Family. Wasn't he in that too? Go ahead. Never mind. Just
okay.
Keep going.
And it says in a bunch of TV stuff.
Yeah.
Is all it says.
Yeah, that's good.
These were like movie credits. Was he on All in the Family?
I might be a different guy.
Are you thinking about Meathead?
Yeah.
No,
that's a different person.
That's a different. Yeah, that's a different person.
Okay, I'll stick to my history.
That's Rob.
I can't remember.
Shiner,
yeah.
Striner.
I don't even remember.
It sounds
now.
like it, but it's not Rob Schneider. Okay, so Uncle Watsy got one back on me like I do when he's trying to do his thing. So Rob Schneider put this out as a tweet, and I think it is absolutely hilarious. But needless to say, liberal heads are just exploding over this tweet. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Here's the tweet. 2010, Dems lost the House. 2012, Dems lost the Senate. 2016, Dems lost the White House. 2017, Dems lost the ability to reason. It's not Russia, it's you.
Excellent. Good for you, Rob.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but man, they're going crazy with him on that one. Okay, what else came over the wire? Are you aware that it's a very rare occurrence if the vice president is called in to break a vote, to break a tie vote in the Senate of 50-50. The vice president actually is a member of the Senate, a voting member of the Senate.
President,
he's the president of the Senate.
Right.
And if it comes down to all of the members, of which there are 100, if they're tied, then he carries the tie-breaking vote, right?
Right.
And it's very rare that this has to be invoked.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the second time already in Donald Trump's less than 90 days, Vice President Mike Pence has been called in to break another tie vote where two Republicans, so I'm following up to the fact that Schneider, two Republicans jumped ship, voted with the Democrats who never, ever, ever break ranks. That's their only strength at this point in time is as a group. But Pence was called in to vote on blah, blah, over the important abortion-related vote. And it had to do with Obama put a rule in place in December, just before he left office, that required grant money coming from the federal government to go to Planned Parenthood. Okay? Required that it go to Planned Parenthood. You following me on this?
Yes.
So this vote that just wound up in a tie was to throw out that rule and make it where the grant money was up to the discretion of the state as to who could best provide the resources that the grant is officially for, right? Mm-hmm. In other words, it really was taking it back to states' rights. Yeah. So the feds grant the money, that's fine, but it's the states' rights on how it is to dole out. And two Republicans, one from Alaska,
Olympia Snow, and
one from Maine.
Right? Oh, Maine.
Maine.
Olympia Snow
jumped in there and voted with the Democrats and made it a 50-50 tie. And Pence voted on the side of states' rights. So it wound up passing, but, you know, as we used to say, by the hair of its chinny chin chin, you know. Mm-hmm. What else we got here? These things just came across. Oh, that's the one by. And while I'm killing a little time, Ms. Surefire and I were coming back from a meeting last night at Project Management, and we stopped to get a beverage on the way home, just to kind of chill out a little bit. And this young...
From all my homework.
Yep. This young man sitting at the table next to us heard a bit of our discussion, overheard a few buzzwords, and decided he wanted to join the conversation. All right? Mm-hmm. I think he had a couple of adult beverages himself.
A few.
28 years old or 26? I don't recall.
28.
28 years old.
Yeah.
So kind of in the target audience. And, you know, it's one of those things where I read an awful lot. I study. I do my research. I read everything that I can about this particular generation because I want to know. And I have a lot of friends, thankfully, that are in that generation, so I get some good feedback. But as luck would have it, I guess I tend to run with like-minded people like Andres Holiday, you know, members of that generation, but conservatives. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't, and I guarantee you if I walked up to strike a conversation with this young man, he would have nothing to do with it. But he was absolutely the quintessential millennial that everybody talks about. Okay? Mm-hmm. He was an atheist that if it weren't for big government, we would not have anything in our lives. Ever. Mm-hmm. All right? He started out by telling me that he was a doctorate in history. And when he found out I was a real doctor, he kind of backed off of that a little bit. Okay, I was very, very polite and, you know, just let him keep digging his hole on one issue after the other. But to me, it was absolutely, what was it? It was proof. It was reaffirmation of why we do this radio show.
And I think... To him, he was making a lot of assumptions about things, and I think that's not good to be that way.
Oh, absolutely. He was making a lot of assumptions about things in life and, you know, stuff that maybe he had read in a history book that, sorry, I was there. Yeah. You know, it may have been history to him, but it's my life, and I was old enough to remember for one reason or another. But anyway, I found it very interesting and very much a affirmation of why we're doing this. That we absolutely must reach these folks and bring them into at least some frame of reality.
For sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
Okay, this is also in the news. You may not be aware that the Mexican Attorney General was caught smuggling drugs across the border.
Does that surprise you?
Well, no.
Yeah.
But apparently it surprised...
Things are getting hard over there, huh?
Apparently it surprised somebody, you know, because...
Well, he learned from Holder with, you know, the guns.
I think Holder was probably his drop-off guy.
Could be.
But, you know, he got stopped before he got to it. Okay. Here's an article that I found. Census, by the way, if you don't remember or you weren't here the first part of the show, the phone lines are open. We'd be glad to hear from you. Don't have long to call, maybe about 6 or 7 minutes, but that's plenty of time.
The phone's on, folks.
Unless you're way across the country, and those calls take a lot longer. It's area code 210-843-8859. Give us a call, 210-843-8859. Doc Owen Show. Let her rip. Here's a census report. Half of and it uses the word kids, which I hate, because they're baby goats, half of the children in the top 700 school systems are from immigrant homes. Think about that for a minute. 50% of the children in the top, and it says top 700, and by that they mean largest 700. Okay. Not top academically. Largest. Okay. Big cities. All right? Size-wise. Right. Yeah. number of students wise, 50% of those students are immigrants. 30% are illegal immigrants.
Wow.
The article is about the change that this is having on our education system. Mm-hmm. I would submit to you that we are not the ones that should change our education system.
Amen.
To fit the norm, to fit these census results. Mm-hmm. But that's what it says. You know, it's causing all sorts of hardships, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Well, but the hardship should not be on us. I mean, I remember going to school with other children who from time to time didn't get it, right? Either they didn't want to, they didn't come to school, they wouldn't pay attention, their mind was somewhere else, sometimes their fault, sometimes not their fault, et cetera, right? We've all been to school with peers like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whose responsibility was it to make it right?
The parents.
Mm-hmm.
The parents and the students themselves.
That's right.
Not the school system.
Anybody
That's
else.
correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's your own business.
So, well, the school can help, but it's not the school's responsibility if you don't speak English to put you in a class that doesn't speak English.
You got that right.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
You don't need to go out and hire a non-English speaking teacher to teach these children math in what is their native language, especially if 30% of them are here illegally. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't mean to be ugly. It's not being ugly. Actually, you're thwarting, big word, you're thwarting the development of these children by not coaching them and forcing them to speak and learn English.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
If they're going to get anywhere in, I'm sorry. I just believe that that's the case. And I take a lot of hits for being real hard-hearted about it. But I know from many years of experience that is the case. The better educated you are in English, speaking and writing, the farther you are going to go in your life. End of discussion.
That is.
I just can't see how you can argue with that.
Better to hire extra teachers who can teach English to those who do not speak English than to teach math in a foreign language.
Well, they may,
right?
it may take
exactly.
them. It may take them a little bit longer than 12 years to go through school. Mm-hmm. It may take them 13. It may take them 14. But that's okay.
Yes, it is.
It's a transition because I guarantee you what's going to happen is everything that's not English the job's going to be done by a robot.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
You're going to walk up to a robot and press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish, press 3 for Arabic, press 4, whatever, and that robot's going to ask you what you want on your Big Mac in your native language. That's what I see happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of like way too much drama.
Well, it's not just in the United States. I get it on my real hours. Do you know what the language of the air is? All pilots and all air traffic controllers worldwide?
English.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
If you're a Russian pilot, you got to speak English.
Oh, there you go.
If you're a Japanese pilot, you got to speak English in order to take off or land anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And the people bringing them into land speak English. Go figure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your first. Not that everybody wants to be a pilot, but that's an example.
Yes.
Okay. Whew. Sorry about that. And here I didn't think we had anything to talk about. 10 states now have more people on welfare than they do employed.
Wow.
10 states.
How sad.
Do they name them?
Yeah. No, they don't.
Oh.
They says Google them. But here are the percentages going from the presidents. Okay, the last is 38% were on welfare under Roosevelt. Grow. 57% under Eisenhower, down to 30% under Kennedy. back to 53 under Nixon, grow 56 under Reagan. These are the ones that they got off. Oh, no. You know what those percentages were? The number of college graduates in their administration. You know how many? You know what the percentage of college graduates in the Obama administration were?
Probably less than 10.
Bingo. 8%.
Wow.
Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.